Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping straight into some pretty mind-bending ideas from the first few chapters of a book called Your Brain Knows More Than You Think by neurobiologist Niels Birbaumer. All right, let's kick things off with a pretty huge question. Think about it for a second. Is the person you are right now permanent? Is your personality, your character, is it all just set in stone?
This idea that everything flows isn't new. The ancient philosopher Heraclitus was saying it thousands of years ago. But let's be honest, we all have this habit, right? We kind of like to put ourselves and other people in boxes, to freeze frame them. Well, this book is all about challenging that. It argues that we're not static beings at all. We're constantly in a state of becoming.
Okay, so let's dig into that. This whole concept of a fixed character. Why does the author think it's not just wrong, but actually a pretty damaging illusion?
Think about how we talk. We say things like born criminals, or we look at someone with a condition like locked-in syndrome and just assume their life has no quality. The book's take is that these are really fatalistic assumptions. And where do they come from? Well, it suggests they often come from fear, maybe even a bit of laziness. I mean, it's way easier to just write someone off than to grapple with the idea that real, profound change is possible, right?
And this is where it gets really interesting. It's about the power of this situation over so-called character. Take the famous Milgram experiment. I mean, what a shock to the system that was. It basically proved that most of us, just normal, everyday people, could be pushed to do horrible things, like inflict what we think is extreme pain on a total stranger, all because someone in a lab coat told us to.
And the key takeaway wasn't that these people were secretly monsters. No way. It was what Hannah Arendt called the banality of evil. It reveals something huge about us. Our actions aren't always guided by some deep, unchangeable moral compass. Instead, they're shaped by our experiences, by what gets rewarded and what gets punished. Our brains are practical. They're wired to learn from consequences, not necessarily from abstract ideas of right and wrong.
Okay, so if our character isn't this fixed thing, then what's actually going on? What's the mechanism that allows for all this change? Well, the answer isn't in some philosophical concept, it's in the physical wiring of our brains.
The magic word here, the engine behind everything, is neuroplasticity. And this is not some fluffy, abstract idea. It's the brain's literal, physical ability to rewire itself. It's like a muscle, or maybe like clay, that reshapes based on what you do, what you learn, even when you get injured. And here's the kicker. This isn't just for kids. This is happening in your brain right now throughout your entire adult life.
And if you want a perfect example, look no further than London taxi drivers. This study is just amazing. To get their license, these cabbies have to memorize this insane labyrinth of 25,000 streets called the knowledge. And when scientists scanned their brains, they found that the part responsible for spatial memory, the hippocampus, had physically gotten bigger. Their brains were literally remolding themselves to handle the job. How cool is that?
So what does this all boil down to? The author says the brain is driven by two super simple principles. Number one, its main goal is just to get results that feel good, that are emotionally positive. It's not thinking about good or evil, it just wants that reward. And number two, its strategy to get that reward is to be incredibly flexible. Think about it from a survival standpoint. A rigid, stubborn personality is a huge disadvantage. Adaptability, that's the name of the game.
Okay, this next part, this is where we see the ultimate test of the brain's power. This is where all this science becomes something incredibly, profoundly human. I want you to really try and imagine this. You're fully awake. You can think, you can feel, you hear everything around you, but you can't move. Not a single muscle. You can't speak. You're completely trapped. This is locked-in syndrome. And the scary part, it's estimated there are thousands of people just in Germany who are in this state, fully conscious, but often misdiagnosed as being in a vegetative state. Their minds are alive, but nobody knows.
So that leads to this huge, seemingly impossible question. If you can't move at all, how on earth can you talk? How can we possibly communicate with that thinking, feeling person we know is trapped in there?
Well, the answer is kind of like science fiction, but it's real. The author and his team figured out a way to just bypass the body completely. They created a brain-computer interface. What it does is teach patients to control the blood flow in their own brain just by thinking. So by thinking yes or no to a question, they can change the blood flow in a specific spot. A machine picks up on that change and translates it. They are literally learning to speak with their thoughts.
Again, this is real. This is happening. People who are completely silent, People who many had sadly written off are now able to communicate. They can talk to their families. They can answer questions. They can share what they're thinking and feeling. They've been given a voice back.
So what's the first thing they say? Well, this is what just blows all those fatalistic assumptions out of the water. Many of them say they're happy. They're satisfied with their lives. It just completely shatters everything we think we know about what makes a life worth living. It proves the mind can find joy and meaning in situations that are almost impossible for the rest of us to even imagine.
So we've gone from ancient philosophy all the way to brain-computer interfaces, and it all leads to this one powerful idea. Our brains have this incredible, almost infinite ability to adapt, to learn, and to find meaning. And what that means for us is that we never have to give in to fatalism. Whether it's an illness, an injury, or even just a part of our personality we don't like, change is always on the table.
So what this all shows us is that the things we think are so permanent, our personality, our character, they're not fixed at all. They're constantly moving, constantly changing. And that leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. If our brains are really this powerful, this flexible, then what are our true limits? Are there any?